Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about intervals. An interval is the distance between two notes in music. Now, usually we are looking at intervals within the same octave. So, to start with, let me start with the scale of C major. Now, the way most people identify intervals by ear, just by hearing them, is to associate them with a song that they know. There are many of these, but let me start with intervals within the major scale. So, this interval, C to D, is called a major second interval because it goes from the first to the second in the scale. The song corresponding to this note that I know very well is which everyone should know. The next interval in this scale is called a major third because it goes to the third note in the scale. The song corresponding to this interval is and that's how I always remember it. Next, let's go up one more note. This is called a perfect fourth because it includes the fourth note in the scale, which is F. The song that corresponds to this interval is which everyone should know. Let's now move on to the next interval in this scale, which is called a perfect fifth because it goes to the fifth note in the scale. The song I associate with this interval is which everyone should know as well. Next, let's move on to the next interval, which is called a major sixth because it goes to the sixth note in the scale. I associate this interval with which is My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. Next, let's move on to the major seventh, which is quite distinctive. I don't think there's a song that includes this interval as a major part, so it's just a disgusting sounding interval. And that's how I remember it. Next, let's finally move on to a perfect octave, which basically goes from C to C an octave above, which is also the same as Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And that's how I remember it. So those are all the major and perfect intervals. Now let's move on to the minor intervals. A minor interval just means we take the major interval and move it down one semitone. And that's a minor interval. So, a minor second is, which is a lot like the theme from Jaws. A minor third I associate with Greensleeves. Next, let's move on to our augmented fourth. Now, an augmented fourth just means we take the fourth and move it up one semitone. This is the same interval as the start of the Simpsons theme. Next is the minor sixth, which means taking the major sixth and moving it down one. The song I associate with this interval is The Entertainer. Next, let's move on to the minor seventh interval. This is taking the major seventh and moving it down one. This interval is the same as the song Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So there you have it, guys. Those are all the intervals you will need to know. You can transpose these up or down to any key. As long as the interval is the same, you're okay. Intervals are very important things for being able to figure melodies out by ear, because you will only need the first note in a melody, and if you can figure out by ear what all the intervals are from that first note, you'll be able to figure out any melody. No problems. So anyway, I hope this helps, and my follow-up video to this will be a video on figuring out melodies by ear, which relies heavily on being able to figure out intervals. So anyway, thanks for listening.